Hello, I'm Kate Borthwick and I'm one of the course designers for Agincourt 1415 Myth and Reality, and welcome to this tutor review.
I'm Alex Labanov, one of the tutors on the course. Together with Mike Warner, we're trying to answer your comments and questions, and we've got quite a lot of them, and that's fascinating. So how many learners do we have on the course this round?
Well, we have over 3,000 people who've joined us for this course, which is amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a very large classroom indeed, and I do hope you're enjoying the course. Thank you so much also for all your comments and ideas. It's really obvious that there are a really knowledgeable group of people out there who are following this course, and so thank you for sharing all your experience with us. We're learning so much from you and the comments that you're giving us. This is the second time the course has run. The first time we ran was in October last year, at the same time as the 600th anniversary of Agincourt. This time round we have 3 weeks on the course, and you'll see the third week available to you soon. In that third week we look at the legacy of Agincourt, and also we look at the commemorations which took place around the 600th anniversary. And we have a very special live session during that week. And taking part in the live session will be Anne and Dan, Professor Bertrand Schnerb from the University of Lille in France, and also Tom Richardson from the Royal Armouries. And so you'll have an opportunity to put your questions directly to them and to hear their answers to you. So please join us for that on March the 11th, the Friday of week 3. So, Alex, can you tell us something about the conversations and the questions that have developed this week?
Well, the conversation, I would say, is slightly different from that we had during the first run, but there are still some methods which remain the same, like the number of errors, which continues to be discussed extensively, and I think we'll probably should leave it to Tom Richardson and Anne and Bertrand Schnerb during the live session.
Yes, on that note, I mean, all of those lovely comments you've put on there about the number of hours in the campaign, there's lots of discussion on it. I've saved all of those things and I've directed them through to Anne and to Tom and Professor Schnerb, and they'll answer those, respond to those things directly. So, please look out for those answers during the live session.
Yes, and everyone is happy with the logistics and this side of the campaign, and we've got a lot of response that how impressive it appears to be, and there were quite interesting questions about the matter of secrecy, whether it was possible to conceal an army of 10,000 men and 20,000 horses and an awful lot of ships, to conceal the fact that there is a very massive army going to invade France. Presumably the answer is yes and no at the same time, but there are several points to be kept in mind when thinking of it. First of all is that we're talking about Middle Ages, and there is no radio, internet or anything like that to communicate information instantly. So all the information had to leave England, reach France, and then be delivered to the King's Court or to the military commanders. So it took time and effort just to provide this information. Let's say one of the first notices came from the fishers of Boulogne on Picardian coast, and that was quite far from Harfleur. So, and this leads us to another question. It was impossible to hide that a massive fleet is leaving England, but there were quite a few possibilities about where it could disembark. So we've got all the Norman coast, but there was also Gascony, where the English had a bridgehead. There was also Calais, where there was another bridgehead. And actually, if we look at the indentures made by the English captains on the campaign, before the campaign, it stated that the king might decide to go to France or to the Duchy of Guyenne. So, at least at this stage, this was a matter of secrecy, and it remained vague and kept secret. The point is that the French had no standing army ready to face the English wherever they will decide to disembark. So in order to assemble army, the king had to have certain information about whether the English are coming, at least whether the English are coming to Normandy or to Guyenne, and in this case he will refer to different local noble communities asking to send troops and soldiers. So it wasn't possible to hide the preparations in the hall, but quite a significant degree of secrecy could still be achieved. Okay, and we also had some questions around the Southampton plot. So, one of our activities was a discussion. What would have happened had the plot succeeded and Henry been killed? What's your take on that, Alex? What do you think? Well, that's about asking what-if questions, which is probably the most tricky thing in the first week, and therefore my opinion is just my personal one and is almost as good as those of yours. But once again, I would like to point to a few matters. First of all, killing Henry V was certainly not enough to claim the throne of France. So there were 4 brothers, and one had to eliminate all of them in order to put to get the throne. On the other hand, what seems quite assured to me is the fact that if the plot was successful, I don't think the army would sail to France. Actually, whoever may find himself on the throne after the plot, for him it would be most unwise to leave the country which not still firmly in his rule and to go adventuring abroad. And about the importance of the plot, I'd like to think about one more thing. Actually, it seems to be like a very last stage of an extensive number of mutinies and rebellions during Henry IV's reign. And once Henry V has dealt with the Southampton plotters, there were absolutely no significant plots for decades, to a degree that when Henry V died, leaving a 9-month-old son as his heir, Henry VI was allowed to grow up and inherit the throne, although eventually he proved a complete failure. But that shows the degree to which the Lancastrian dynasty has established itself by the end of the 1410s, and the Southampton plot is probably the last major step in this process of establishing itself. Yeah, okay, thank you. I mean, it's interesting, I think, to speculate, isn't it, and to wonder. Those what-if questions are often interesting to answer and think about. One of the activities we also had was looking at the database, the medieval soldier database, to see if your ancestor was there. You've been involved with the database, and you're going to be involved with the database, aren't you, Alex? Yes, that's true. Actually, I'm more thankful to you for all the comments related to the database, to the layout of the web interface and all those things, because I'm going to spend the next 6 months in rearranging the database itself and reconsidering the web interface. So all of your suggestions are most welcome, even if you feel that it has already been mentioned. It's important to have a number of opinions, so please, thank you to those who have sent their suggestions, and please do continue to contribute either at FutureLearn in your comments or at medievalsoldier@mail.com. Thank you very much in advance for all future suggestions. Okay, so next week is week 2. In week 2, we're going to be looking at the march to Harfleur, so the campaign up to Agincourt, preparations for battle, the battle itself, and the aftermath. And something certainly I found surprising and shocking was what happened in the aftermath of Agincourt. And I really look forward to finding out what you think about that and what your opinion is. So thank you very much. We look forward to more conversations next week. See you next week. Bye-bye. Bye.